Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. I'm Elizé. I'm your host for today. And today is day 2 with Fergie. We have been working on a book club or UX book club mobile app. Today is day 2. Yesterday we did day 1. If you didn't get to see that stream, you can watch it on YouTube as well as Behance. And yesterday was more wireframes. Today we're going to be talking about high fidelity and how Fergie's going to actually build this app. So that's very exciting. And today, we are doing Artist Spotlight, which means we get to celebrate and give love to a designer in the community, which is one of my favorite things to do, celebrate other people. And that's going to be about 90 minutes into the stream. And if you want to be featured, you want to get some love, you want to show yourself off to the community, you can actually recommend yourself or recommend a friend or someone you know. And you could just check out the Artist Spotlight tab. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask it in the chat and one of the moderators in the chat will help you. All right, let's bring in Fergie. Hello, hello. Welcome to day 2. How are you feeling?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. Excited for day 2.
Good, we all are, because I remember you got some, you were teasing us yesterday with how you're going to build it. And so we're excited to learn more about it. Can you, if anyone didn't get to see you yesterday, can you give us a little quick information about who you are, what you covered yesterday, and what you're planning on covering today?
Sure thing. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming and joining me for day 2. If you don't know me, haven't seen my face before, I'm Fergie, and I'm a UX designer based in London. I've been a UX designer for 11 years. I work in sort of the tech industry over here and basically work with loads of clients to bring their visions to life. And I'm also an XD ambassador. So you know to stay tuned for all the tips and tricks. And if anyone is interested, I'm actually going to be at Max doing a workshop in XD. So more learning content coming along there too. This is like my little showreel of my work. I do all kinds of things for fun as well as, the day job. Just love to create, and XD really is my favorite tool. It allows me to design so fast, get ideas down, and just make. How's the saying go? Designing at the speed of light, at the speed of thought. Definitely true, I would say. So what we're going to be working on is the UX Book Club mobile app. So I actually run a weekly UX Book Club over on my Discord server. And we basically get together and listen to an audiobook chapter each week and have a conversation about it and just generally have a great time. And it's been mentioned a couple of times by some members that they would really, really like to have an app for a multitude of purposes. So that is kind of what we're focusing on yesterday and today. And if you missed yesterday, as Elizé already mentioned, we basically worked on doing the app map and putting together our kind of draft wireframes for all the different screens we're going to have, what features and what content we need to put on them. And today, we'll do a few little tweaks and amendments to those wireframes, as well as applying the UX Book Club branding. So we're really going to start to flesh out the UI design and also prototype everything together so that I can send it to the book club members and they can give me feedback and leave comments and basically be my test participants. And I'll also be actually building this app and launching it on the app stores. And I did tease you all yesterday. I did say that there is an amazing plugin in XD that means you can go from XD to App Store with virtually, well, actually no code. There's a few settings and things that you do in the background, but it's super, super easy and user-friendly. And well, I'll tell you about this one today. Well, not right now. We've only just got started. Got to have a little bit more mystery. And I'll show you all of my favorite plugins too as we go through.
This sounds great. I've yet to see this happen. So I think I'm the most curious of us all. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So quick little reminder. I put a message out to the book club people to ask them what kind of features and functionality might they want in an app. So I did a little bit of user research before coming on live so that we would know what to design. folks wanted things like summaries, easy access to the recordings of the club calls that we have each week, a library, calendar reminders, things like gamification, a mascot, badges, just all kinds of really great ideas. So shout out to the book club members who are always so ready to answer all of my questions.
And everyone is invited to this book club, right?
Yes, it is open for all. So if that sounds like your kind of thing, if you struggle to read by yourself, come and join us. I think the thing is, we all struggle to do this reading by ourselves and solo, making time for it can always be a struggle. But when you've got that group and you can have the conversation, and it's only 1 hour a week, you can find time, we can make it work. So
you got your plugin working.
Oh.
Did you get your plugin working with the keyword or the shortcuts? Yes. Oh, nice. Okay,
so
tell everyone what the shortcut
is. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if I have.
What is this called again? What is this? What was this? This plugin?
So this is called Keystroke Pro. It's a piece of software that just sits on my laptop. So because I do a lot of keyboard shortcuts, you'll all be able to see what buttons I am pressing in case I forget to say it out loud.
Yeah, so watch out for those little colors. Do one for us right now. Just give us a little taste. Woo, space. Okay, so if you want to become a keyboard shortcut whiz like Fergie, pay attention to those colors in the corner.
Oh, yeah. So these are all of our features that we mapped out yesterday to get started. And then we sketched up this app map. So this is basically me trying to get an idea of the different screens we need. What is the structure going to be like? What might the navigation include? What kind of level are these different screens going to sit at? What are going to be, your kind of primary screens? What are then going to be levels behind that? And I've edited this a little bit since last night. We were going to have calendar as a screen, but actually we could probably put a little reminder on the home screen and then also put this into settings. And that opens up a nice little space on our navigation bar to have a direct link to the chat, to Discord. So we can link straight there without having to build our own chat engine, which is going to be amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. So to give you all an overview of what we did yesterday, we're basically wireframing all of those different screens. So we came up with a welcome screen here where we thought we could display the book we're currently reading, like the details like the name of the book, where we are, like which chapter we're up to, and then quick action buttons for adding it to your calendar, or maybe you want to buy the book so you can follow along and make notes. I know a lot of people like to make notes in the margins. So having like a little link to somewhere like Amazon to buy it could be an option there. Then we have our library. So the library is where we display the books that we have read in the club, the books that we've not yet read but want to read. So showing these kind of as a list, just this high level, kind of the basic information, being able to search and filter with those. And if you selected one of these books, then being able to have this view, read the blurb that's normally on the back of the book that you would, like if you were in a bookstore, you read the back of it to get a bit of an idea as to whether it's what you want. A little voting section. So members can vote if this is a book they want to read or not, because that's how we choose our books, based on voting. And then a great idea that was shared in chat yesterday was showing books that might be similar to the one that you're viewing. So we can have this sort of, you may also like type carousel down the bottom here. Then we were also looking at the replays. So this, I had an idea at silly o'clock after being live. So instead of having a super long list of all of our recordings, I think the first page, like the top level, would be the book covers. So the users know which book they want to listen to. They can click on that and then see the list, rather than having just a list of them all kind of mixed up together. And then that usual kind of media playback type screen. And then we were looking at things like a really basic profile screen, which, you know, we've seen so many times in all of the apps that we use, and a quick form so that members can submit a book that they would like to recommend, and then it would be part of the library. So it's very like member generated kind of library.
Love it. And I love the changes that you made. It feels very clear and still like it's not overwhelming. You know, it's just the main features that are required. And I think, yeah, I think this is such a great start for today.
Awesome. So I thought I'd start by showing some inspiration that I started to look at now that we're kind of getting into it and getting into the detail. I don't really like to be too influenced by inspiration sometimes. I kind of want to put my idea down and then look at inspiration, because sometimes I find if I look at things first, then I'm sort of mimicking and kind of Frankensteining together all the different things that I've seen. But I basically just went through the App Store, did a search for book club, found some interesting things, found out that Reese Witherspoon has a book club app. Who knew?
Oh. Did not know.
Right. So I basically took some screenshots of the kind of images that you get in the App Store of promoting the app before you download it, as that way of kind of prompting you to do so. And they've got quite similar layouts in a lot of them. Some of them are very kind of clean, lots of white space, not lots of detail. Some of them are a little bit more kind of colorful and a bit more playful with illustrations and things like that. And then, of course, I had to include, you know, Kindle and Audible, just because this is kind of really where it started off. And then just a kind of UI piece of inspo that I thought could maybe be kind of cool to do a little pop-up panel. So when we select a book, it kind of goes, shoo, like we're taking that card out of the box and having a look at what is this book all about. But also what I've done is highlight certain things that I kind of like about some of these screenshots. So again, somebody in chat yesterday had a great idea that we could have a member review for each book that we read, or for each book that is submitted. So I thought that this could be a kind of nice way of displaying that without it being very obviously like quote in the sort of speech bubble that I had previously mocked up. And I just liked the gradient detail in this line that could fit really well with the book club branding. I also quite liked this idea of having a button for people to click on and say, yep, I want to read this. It might be a lot easier, might be quicker than having the sort of radio button question vote that I was thinking of before. I quite like how this looks, just keeping it really simple. What else was there? This sort of feature where folks could add comments or maybe start up some sort of discussion, which might be, we might add something like that. I'm not too sure, because we do have Discord. So I feel like keeping chat all in one place, it's going to be better. And then just looking at different ways that these can be displayed. So when we go into the detail of one of the books, using this tabbed kind of like, what do you call this, a sort of tab view, so that we could see the details about the book, and then maybe reviews if we wanted to have more than one. Or maybe there's the kind of public information that usually goes with the book, and then maybe there's the book club summary review of something that we may have read in the past. And similarly, I liked how that same control is used in this library view here. They kind of had 3 different things that you could tab between, which could be a very good solution for our library, where we're showing books that we have read and books that we want to read. So I think that could solve it really nicely without us having to have many library screens. And then a few last things. I really liked this percentage showing how far through the book we are, or even this sort of timeline-esque view of just showing, you know, we're this far and we've got this much to go, so you can maybe get an idea of how long it will take to finish a book. And the way these books are recommended with just using the cover, so without having the text information laid out next to it, like we put in the wireframes yesterday, I actually think this is a lot more visually appealing. So this is probably what we're going to change that to. And then this little idea down here, I thought, instead of having our home button, could we use the cover of the book to indicate that's the home screen? But I'm not too sure. And I would love to know everybody's thoughts on that. If anyone has an opinion they'd like to share, let me know. I'm all ears.
Yeah. So when you are when you're looking for inspiration, what are you looking at and for? Are you paying more attention to features, design elements? Like what's going on in the brain of Fergie as she goes through that experience?
I'd say I'm definitely looking for apps that have a similar purpose. So I purposely was looking at book club apps, because that's obviously what we're creating here, and also looking at things that might have similar features and functionality. So getting an idea of, how are products recommended in a shopping app, because that could be very similar to how we recommend other books for members to read in this kind of sideways carousel that we have going on down here. The same way I was looking at Audible, because we're having we have MP3, we have these cool recordings that we want to play back. And I was thinking, how could we lay these out so that it's not overwhelming or confusing? So really, I think kind of I'll look at the area or the niche that I'm creating something for to get started. But then I don't limit myself to only looking at, if I was doing a banking app, I wouldn't only look at banking apps. I'd have a look at everything, because there can be ideas from other disciplines, other fields that you could use and definitely take inspiration from. So yeah.
Great. Yeah. And so it seems more because it seemed like you're pointing less to color styling and UI styling exactly, and more of features, functionality, and new ways of thinking about your current design and maybe enhancing what you've already made as far as structure goes. Okay. And exactly. So now are you implementing that into those designs into the wireframes?
Yes, I'm just going to make a few little adjustments based on some of those ideas. So, for example, instead of having this, click to vote, I'm actually just going to turn it into a button, because I feel like it's a lot simpler.
Yeah, if you guys weren't here yesterday, we talked about how Fergie uses this XD as kind of not almost like before wireframing, a sketch or a whiteboard, putting first initial ideas of what should be on there, not really being tied to anything. And so now we're kind of seeing how she's going more from that sketch to more of an actual wireframe with these adjustments. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Cool.
Okay. And then for anyone who wasn't here yesterday, I also I try and use grids, because it just keeps everything laid out really, really neatly. And also it's quite a standard practice, obviously in web design and in app design, you have different grids that you would use for each. And I sometimes kind of go between using a layout grid, like with these columns here, or by using the just the 8-pixel grid. But this one makes my eyes really tired really quickly. So I tend to stick to the layout one.
When you're doing sketches like this, early sketches, do you typically still use the grid as well at early phase, or is it when you go more into the wireframing or high fidelity, or throughout?
It can vary. If I'm just trying to get some idea down very quickly, then I probably won't worry too much about a grid, and I would tweak it later. But it depends. If I'm creating something, and I'm using a design system to like pull all the pieces in, then I might switch the grids and guides on sooner, just to get an idea of how is this actually going to look on the device? Like, is this idea good or not? Because I really like that if you connect your phone to your laptop or your computer with the like USB cable, you can actually use the XD app to see what it's going to be like on your phone. And for me, that's a really great way of seeing if scale and font sizes and everything you started to put together really works or not. More so than just doing like the desktop preview like you would have here, contextually putting it on your phone and having it in your hand and trying to tap and click on things that you might have made like buttons and made them interactive. I think really, really helps.
Yeah, definitely. That's such a great feature, and one that maybe isn't as used as often maybe as it should. So I think it's good to remind people about that. Else?
Changed those two things. It was kind of the main thing I wanted to change. And then I shall wait for popular opinion as to whether a book cover identifies as a home button, because I'm not too sure. I feel like it might be too small.
Okay, so yeah, I was going to ask, what is your thoughts on what is working and potentially what wouldn't be working for it?
So I feel like, something like Kindle, which is a very, very popular app, the fact that they use it, I was like, oh, interesting. I'm not sure I had noticed it before, because I typically I actually have a Kindle device, so I don't necessarily use the app. So I put it on my phone just to have a look at. And I was quite surprised by that, because they have the home button, but then they also have, the book that you're currently reading as like almost like a quick access type button, that this is what you're currently reading. I just thought it was really interesting, because it is very, very small. And given that this is my personal library, I can kind of I can look at that and be like, oh yeah, I was reading that book and I know what that is. Whereas I wonder if being in a book club where, especially if you're a new joiner partway through a book we're reading, whether that would really make sense. Or that's just good to stay with the classic home icon. So there's nothing wrong with staying with classics.
Yeah, because I remember when I first saw that on the Kindle app, I was like, oh, interesting, because it kind of takes you by surprise a little bit. You're not used to seeing that. And I also remember feeling mixed feelings about it. Like, I kind of like that it's there, but my natural behavior is to open the app, go to home, and just go to my most recently read, like because it's still in your home screen, right? When you open it, it's the most recent is right there. So it's like, would I also go into that? Yeah, I don't know. I like the way it looks and feels. So I feel like I understand both sides to your internal arguments, pros and cons of it.
Yeah. The internal struggles of making decisions. Then this would be that nice little like gradient bar, because I just feel like that could be kind of nice in terms of like design accent type thing.
Yes, that was the first visual, or the only visual thing that you did mention from your competitive, like the little gradient. And I was like, oh, there's a UI. A UI find.
Yeah, it's definitely like a mixed thing. Sometimes I do go and look purely for like really beautiful aesthetics things. I love to use Behance and Dribbble and all these websites for that. I think there's so many amazing creators out there that share their work, and I find that really inspiring. Being inspired by others, not just being inspired by what's out there and the known, the typicals. Yes, everybody loves Apple and the Apple website's lovely, but I want to see what another cool designer's done, because Apple's not the only thing that we can be inspired by.
I hear you. We also have a question from Roy. Is it okay to use thumbnails of the books and also playing the clips Are your members able to access copyright recorded material?
Interesting. I may have to do some legal homework.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Are you able to just bring in imagery and whatnot, and from where? And that's a good question.
Book cover wise, if you think about it, there's a lot of sites that do this, like Goodreads and Blinkist, I think is another one, where you have a lot of those kind of summaries. And we do have, Creative Commons license. I'm not taking the book and passing it on and distributing it and reselling it or anything like that, which I'm pretty sure would be against a lot of rules. But I'll have to check it out. I'll have to make sure.
I was wondering too, when we were talking about it yesterday, if there's like some API that's easy to connect through Amazon or something, where because you're promoting it, they will help bring in all this information and content for you. I'm not sure. Make your life easier. Or if you're planning on, or if you're planning on putting each piece yourself and filling out each one of these on your own, or what the idea was there.
I mean, I was thinking of more me controlling the content more myself, because when it comes to building it, I kind of know how I can create my own databases, my own API to connect to that. So, for example, I'll get the image of a book. And even if that's some of these books I already own on my bookcase, as we were discussing yesterday, my bad habit of times gone by was seeing a book thinking, oh, that's a great book, I should read it, and purchasing it because, of course, if I buy it, then I'm going to read it, which is completely not true. I could also take my own images, and then there's no issue of image kind of copyright in that respect. I'm not claiming to have designed the book or written the book or anything. I'm sharing an image of the book, and that's all totally fine.
Made me think of like you could be more creative now if you're just taking your own pictures. It could be like you with the book, or one of your other members with the book, and it could be more like connective and community feel. I guess like it opens the door for some creativity in the imagery, maybe.
Definitely, that sounds way more fun.
So it seems like a couple people are really liking the idea of the book cover as an icon. So there are two or three people who are interested in that idea. So there's a couple votes.
We'll give it a go. We can always do both and see what comes out on top. So I think in terms of wireframes, they're very rough. They're not super polished, but we can definitely polish it as we go along, because I want to make sure we get all of the UI and then do all the prototyping. And of course, I've got to let you on this secret at some point. Otherwise, you're all going to be upset with me. So let me share with you the book club branding and what this kind of looks like.
So fun.
Thanks. So it was like super, super, super quick. Something that I had created just because you need things like an icon for Discord, and we have there's an Instagram account as well where I try and share like little summaries as posts so that people know they can come and join. So that's kind of all I've had for quite a while. So I was putting together a color palette in preparation for the stream. And hopefully folks think it's bright and fun, and it goes together. But I've basically got, the logo, I've got some typography styles. I just couldn't resist using Baggio. I think it's an obsession. It may turn into a problem at some point because I can't use it for everything. But I just love the fun vibe that it gives. But I will use it sparingly just for kind of the main titles. So it's not going to be everywhere, because I think that would be way too much. It's more decorative than anything.
Oh,
And
so there's
then
Baggio and Baggio alternatives. So the alternatives is more the funky style.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that yesterday. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited to see how that gets put together.
Yeah, hopefully it all works. And if it doesn't, we can tweak things as we go. I'm not too precious. And then just as paragraph styling, like body copy, I've chosen pop-ins because I liked the roundness of it. And I also like the shape of the A, how it sort of complements the Baggio font really well. I didn't want to have an A that had that kind of hook on the top because I feel like it would have jarred a little bit to read like that. We've got some buttons. We've got different types of buttons. So we've got main CTA. So that's again a button type that I'd use sparingly. This is for things like join now, sign up, those kind of attention, the buttons you want to get attention drawn to. And then the two regular, as I'll call them, the buttons, your primary and your secondary. And then I'll probably have some sort of icon type button as the tertiary, as well as maybe needing hyperlinks. So that's how that might look. Color palette, some gradients, quite excited about those. And I've had a bit of a, had a go. We'll see, we might change some of this. Looking back at this, I don't love this font in the badges, I don't think. I think it's a bit much. It's too much going on. So probably change this very quickly. But this is from the idea of the gamification. So perhaps when a member has finished 5 books, they can get this little badge on their profile. Or if they've read for 10 hours, then they get another badge. If they start up conversations. I just thought it was quite fun, actually, to
very cute.
Encourage people.
We've got some love around the gradients for you. People are liking it. Laura and Lucas, they're loving the gradients. So
awesome.
Yeah, gradient love.
Thanks. What else? So navigation, I had an idea of maybe keeping it quite clean, but this might be a bit too. What was this trend called? Was it neumorphism, where everything was just shadows? The other year, I think this is maybe a bit too much leaning towards that. Especially with it being on a white artboard, it's not super easy. But wanted to try and give it a bit of depth rather than just sticking it to the bottom of the screen. Quick example of how we might do form fields for the different states, and what I'll go through is showing everyone how we can turn this, everything into components and styles, and how we can create a library, so that if I were working with a team, or maybe Elizé, you were going to create some graphics for us to put on the App Store to help advertise this, I can share that library with you, and you can get all the right color swatches and fonts and everything. And then if you created any graphics and images and put it in the library, I can access them as well, which is just something I really love about using CC libraries. So we'll show those off today as well. And then let me introduce you to Brooke. Brooke is our little book club buddy. He's our little mascot.
Hey, Brooke.
So I really loved this idea of the mascot, and I didn't want it to be too kind of comical of it being, the first thing that came to mind was sort of having a bookworm, and I was like, worms are kind of gross. I'm not too sure about that. And I also don't know how that translates for non-English speakers. I think that's a very, I don't know what we call it. It's one of those little phrases and sayings that we have. I actually can't admit to knowing how it was formed either. So I found this illustration of a character through, let me go to my browser and show you all, through Blush Illustrations. Oops, let's go back over here. And I just really enjoy this illustration library.
Very cute.
Yeah, just really nice kind of fun styles that I wanted to use. Now, of course, you can use like Adobe stock because there's thousands and thousands, if not million, free stock items over there as well. There's all sorts. And then since I'm sharing the branding, I thought I'd show you how I came up with the color palette. I really love using Adobe Color. I think it's a lot of fun. For anyone who hasn't used it before, it can help you put together a really harmonious color palette so that you're not, putting clashing colors together. So I sort of started off with the purple that I know is used in the logo. And you can kind of click through whether you want something that's analogous, monochromatic, whether you want it to be triad, complementary, and it just creates all of these nice color palettes. And I sort of went with the double split complementary because I liked the variations of all the different kind of colors I could use. If there's one thing I'm bad at, it's making choices and narrowing down what I can use. I want to use the whole rainbow. Just love color. And I took some hex codes from here, took these color values, and I put them into coolers because the thing I like about coolers is it gives you color names, which is just really fun. So I highly recommend this, especially if you're putting something together.
Blue velvet? No, blue violet.
Blue violet, yeah.
I was like, blue velvet, interesting.
Yeah.
Just tiny text on my screen.
So it's quite nice.
The names are nice. Color. I never even noticed that part of it. So thanks for putting that out.
Yeah. All good fun. So that's the branding. And we're gonna start to apply it. So I'm gonna go to my libraries panel over here, and you'll see there's a few things that have been added already. So what I've done is basically selected all of my little color swatches and hit the plus icon here. So I've added all of my colors and then also all of my gradients. So I have quick access to always using them and also keeping them consistent, because if I were to change the robin egg kind of turquoise color here to something else, imagine how many times you might have to change that within your app. Whereas if I were to come and change it in my library, that then changes it everywhere in my document for me in a matter of seconds, rather than spending, quite a bit of time doing that all manually for each item, especially because you might miss something, by accident. So it's super handy.
And for those that may be just joining us, we're about almost 40 minutes into today's stream, and Fergie has created wireframes in yesterday's episode for her UX Book Club app. And today she's showing us how she's creating this style guide, the colors, typography that she's going to be using and applying to the wireframes. And so that's where we are at today.
I'll add this as a graphic. Let's see. Let's reorganize these by. Where's the button I want? My name? No. We can add it as a component. That's fine. So yeah, I'm just starting to add these into my document assets. And then I mentioned CC libraries, but what we can actually do is turn this into our library by clicking this little publish button here, which gives you the pop-up. And it takes the name from your file, and then you can publish this. And once it's published, you can share that with whoever you're working with your teams. You could share it with people you're collaborating with, whatever it is you might be doing. So let's get into the details. Just going to go through and make sure we're using the right fonts and things here. I can just really quickly apply these. And we might adjust things as we go through, and that's okay too. I might bump this up just because having all of it the same size, you know, it's all a bit too samey. Put grid on. And what I'll do is split this out as well. I shall explain why in a second.
If you guys have any questions for Fergie as she's designing today, please feel free to put it in the chat and we'll ask. Oh, here we go. We got a question already from Laura. How do you decide on what colors you wanted to use? So I know there was a lot of colors you selected, but what was kind of maybe the final decision or how you decided on those particular ones?
Honestly, it was mostly looking at that, looking at Adobe Color to look at what would be harmonious, because I think using a tool like that just helps everything be really, really nice to the eye, really pleasing. It doesn't kind of jar or anything when you look at it. So I just tried to keep the colors within the same sort of tonal palette, so I didn't have like a super dark blue and then a super bright purple and then a mid green. You know, I kind of tried to keep them all the same sort of hue, tonal level, because then that way they'd match quite nicely and will hopefully work together quite well. Time will tell.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Laura, for asking Fergie the question as well.
Let's get an icon.
So are these, what's the icon that or how are you finding your icons here?
So this is an app called Nucleo, and
okay,
it's just something that I quite like, something I use sometimes if the plugins aren't really giving me what I am looking for, especially if I'm looking for something less standard, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because the plugins have all of the usual icons that you typically need. What I like about this is it's just really easy. I can copy the SVG code here for this icon, and I can come back into XD and just paste that, and we have an icon.
And is this free to get for people?
There is a free version and then a paid version as well, depending on which libraries you want to add to it.
Okay, great.
But there are, of course, there are, of course, the plugins as well. You know, the one I was showing yesterday, a few of them as icons for design, icon scout. Icons for design works very similarly. So if we were to put in book or books, you know, we get quite a lot of results. You can get things from many places.
Yeah, it's good to have. The more the merrier, because sometimes you're not sure what style you want to use, or maybe you want to feel inspired by a particular style. And so the more you see, and I think the more the better.
Yeah. I like choice. Did I say that yet? I like options.
Good. It's good to have options in life, right?
Yeah, definitely. Let's put this in line. Oops. With published.
So when you are applying UI, it seems like your first step is to change out all the copy to the font that you, or the typeface that you want to use. And then it looks like you work on icons, or is that right? Or what kind of happens for you while you're designing?
So because there is a lot of copy, a lot of type in this app, that's why I've defined the styles and just put them in the library, so I can just apply these as we go through each screen really quickly. And then icons, I'm not really sure how the icons will look, but for the moment I've just taken one of the, I think this is one of the things from the color palette, or it's the blue that we left it in from the wireframing yesterday. And I can, we could start to click on various colors from our palette and start to think about what might look good there. But that's a detail I think I'll get to just once I've got things a bit more organized. I like to keep things quite organized, because I can very easily get distracted and not always finish what I mean to finish. So I am trying my best to keep myself organized, so that everyone at home can follow along.
So you're working, but this is like your first full screen that you're gonna work on, is the library screen. And it looks like you're using the grid to start aligning things. You're changing out the text, bringing in potentially the icon that you want to use. And then are you planning on just focusing on this one screen, like one screen at a time, or do you go through all of them and start to change out the text and work in that order?
I quite like to go through screen by screen, especially because the way that we were designing this yesterday, I was using a lot of kind of repeatable patterns. So once I designed this library screen, it could then be really similar to what I do with the club replays, except for instead of a book cover, we might use some kind of play icon or recording icon.
I see.
Once I create one of the book info screens, whether it's an unread book, the book we're currently reading, a book we've previously read, they're all the sort of same design, but they might just have a different tag on it to say, we finished this book, so that it's just visually, there's some differentiation, but it's not overpowering or taking anything away or blocking the user from seeing anything. So a lot of things, we'll be reusing.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. You're creating something once, and then you're kind of reusing it throughout in different ways and changing it up a little bit. So you focus like on kind of finishing up the styling and the UI style on one. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a great method.
You can see all my keys now for me doing all my spacing tricks.
I know, I like seeing it. I also like how colorful they are too. The little shortcuts. Usually I haven't seen it this colorful before. They're usually like gray or black and white or something, little keyboard shortcut. We are about 42 minutes. Got to do a little math in my head right there. 42 minutes away from Artist Spotlight, where we're going to give some love to an artist, just so you guys know where we're at. And Fergie has now been applying the UI that she's created in her styling into the wireframes. Sketches / wireframes, a little combination. And she's applying this styling we're seeing here into that. So we're kind of seeing it come to life now.
I'm gonna have to make a decision of which navigation I even like. Tough decisions today. Let's see what this one would look like. So if this is just kind of hovering at the bottom, you want to make sure that the users know scrollable content might still be, behind there, so they can keep scrolling. Don't know about that. Not sure on that yet. Maybe about there.
Well, we can ask the chat which ones. We've got a couple options. You have this first one here. And then your second option, I forget, it's not hovering. Is that?
They're very, 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 very similar.
Oh, okay.
One is the second one is that sort of new morphism type. And I feel like if I were to put a colored rectangle behind this, it might make more sense. You can see it better than you can on a white background. And I think given the app's quite clean-ish at the moment, I don't know if we're doing colored backgrounds. Not sure this one works as well as this sort of more obviously sort of slightly raised 3D-esque style.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what's behind it and what color is being used. They're both good options.
Yeah. So what I might also do is the little split header, and then I'll show you all how I can put some content in here to make it feel real. So let's do, this be like half the screen. I'm terrible at maths, so XD is going to do the maths for me. Turn on the gradient, turn off the border. I'm going to go up to my dimensions over here, and with the width I'm just going to do /2, divide it in half. There we go. That's about 3. Duplicate it so now I have 2 halves I can play with. Oh, that's another trick. Sorry, let me redo that. So this is a solid fill of my sort of black shade in my color palette. And if you use the numbers on your keypad, that can apply opacity. So 8 would give you 80, 1 would give you 10. So yeah, that's
okay.
There you go, fun little trick.
I didn't know that one. That's a great one.
Yeah.
It's also easy to remember, It's like, oh, it's a number. I want 10%. Okay, 1. But yeah, that makes sense.
So finished reading. This might be too long. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Just fits. And then I can call this one I want to read. Okay. That worked. I'm happy. Grids back on.
And remind me, when someone's on the want to read, they are, this is where they're able to vote and add a potential book that they want to read.
Yes. So that's where they'll have the little vote button that we just changed.
Got it. And they get to that after they click into the book, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So that'll be
okay. Yes. There's the flow
here, and we could use our CTA style for that one, because it's not just a regular button. It's, hey, do something with me kind of button.
Awesome.
All right. So I would love to show you all how we can start to populate this with some data. We love plugins, so we're going to get one of the plugins to help us with this. Now, what I've done in preparation is create a little Google spreadsheet with just some of the books that have kind of been added to our reading list. So the same information that we want to put on the app screen, I've put in these different columns. So title, the author, when it was published, so we know, is this something that's a bit of an older topic or older theory, or is it new research, or something that's newer topic like extended reality, 2021, super current. some tags, because maybe we could search by tags. How many pages, so folks know if it's a long read or it could be a nice quick read. And then a blurb, which I currently am borrowing from Goodreads. But you can imagine that's kind of the type of thing you'd find on the back of the book. So just kind of collected some data that we might use at various places within our app. And to get this to work, all I have to do is make this shareable and make it anyone with a link set to editor so that XD can access this. And then I'm going to go to my trusty plugins panel and use the Google Sheets plugin here. And once I've got this selected, let me check on my layers. Yeah, I'm on my repeat grid. That's where we need to be. I can open, oh, where's it gone? There we go, Google Sheets. And there's a number of different ways that you can put data into your designs. You can connect this to your Google account with this first option here. We can paste in the share URL that I've just copied, or you can upload a CSV file, which is the file type that you get from these spreadsheet type softwares. So it doesn't matter if you're not using Google Sheets, you could still use this plugin and you know, upload your data from Numbers if you're on a Mac, Excel if you're on a Windows machine, etc. Whichever your software provider is. You just export that file type and then you can upload it here. But we're going to paste our URL and press the import button. And it's going to super speedily do that for us. And then what we have to do is map our layer, and this is where naming your layers comes in handy dandy, to the column of data. So I've tried to name them very similar. So published is published, that's the date that we want to tag. So it's telling us this is the name of the layer in bold, and then this is our field from the Google Sheets. So published is going to be published, author is going to be author. So you can see it's already been kind of clever and tried to match for us because we've used the same names. Title is going to be title. Number of pages, we're going to select number of pages. Tags, we're going to select tags. And then rectangle, obviously that's our image. We're not going to map that to any data. And then we can hit apply. And you'll see how all of a sudden it's full of information. And we can see what works and what doesn't work. So, for example, this title here will probably take the shorter version of that title. The fact that this book has more than one author means we maybe need to just nudge things down a little bit, give it a bit of space. This potentially needs to be a little wider for the longer month names. And this icon potentially needs to budge over a little bit. But you can see how we can quickly get it looking very real, which is great. Even if it's you know, fake kind of dummy data, it's still really helpful to put in front of your clients or even users if maybe you want to do some testing early on. Just helps bring everything to life.
Yeah, you're able to then get better with the spacing and understand how much information needs to fit, and when you start to use more realistic data versus, you know, what our initial thoughts of what should fit in there.
Yeah, we can change this to be a text blocks instead, just to show the first few kind of tags. And some will have more, some will have one. And then, because we've used a repeat grid, I'm going to bring in my Finder window. Here's something I prepared earlier. And we're going to look at our book covers, and I've got them sorted into the two groups for what we want to read and what we haven't yet read. Well, no, that's the same thing. What we haven't read and what we have read. And I can drag and drop those onto the rectangle, and it's going to basically put them all in for me. I did number them to match the order of the spreadsheet, so that's how they've matched up nicely. But yeah, that's how you can really quickly start to bring it to life a little bit.
Very
So
nice.
that's our Want to Read library. And now
wow.
what we could,
Fast.
yeah, just like that. So that's kind of why I go into some of the organization first, because then it's just a case of like dropping in some of the real content. And then once I've put this in, I can, tweak it and make those smaller adjustments. But what we could do now is turn this, group all of it, and you can press this little plus button by component, or you can do Command K. And I'm going to turn this into a component, because we can have the Want to Read section and the finished reading section. So we can go New State, Finished. And this is where, you know what, let's change that to be grayed out as well, so it's really obvious. And then what we can do here is bump that out, start to change the styling. Bring up my library so I can apply my gradient there. I have that one there. And now what I can do, because I can go back to my spreadsheet I prepared earlier for the books we have read, and I can take this share link. So again, anyone, make sure that is on editor at that update. And then I'm just gonna, oops, don't give me an error. Okay, good. We're gonna copy that. It's always when you're live, right? We'll make sure we're in our finished component, so we can tell which one we're on depending on what we've got selected here in our inspector panel. And then we're pretty much going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to select our repeat grid. We're going to go back to our Google Sheets plugin. We're going to delete the link, paste a new one, press update. It's going to import that for us. And then actually what I should have done was reduce this down to one book first, which would be much easier. And then we can extend it out. Oh, let's press undo. Not too many times of it. Hang on. All right, let's green handles. Yeah, okay. So let's paste that in. Press up. Oh no, I just did the same thing. We want to do it for one book. Stop. All right, grab our repeat grid handle, take it up to the top. And then with that selected, paste that in. Here we go. It's just going to make the mapping a lot easier. Otherwise, it's going to think that each of these are different fields. And obviously, we don't have that much data. So you'll notice because we've changed the data, the layer names changed. So we just have to pay attention to that. So it's not too difficult because we can see it visually as well. So we know that pages is pages, psychology, we can look here. Oh, that's our tags. So let's put that to tags. 18th, well, that's the date. So that's going to be our published date. Daniel, well, that's the author. And then noise, that was the title of that book. And then what was this one? I think that's our rectangle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit apply.
Okay, great.
And then we can pull this out and we have new data.
There we are.
And then we can pull in the images to match the same way we did before. Ta-da!
Perfect.
So if we go to prototype mode next, we can create this so that if somebody clicks on want to read, because they're on finish at the moment, we can add a tap interaction, and that will go to the default state. And then if we go to the default state, we can select the finished heading, or you can do it for the whole kind of head space up here if you wanted. I didn't put a background rectangle there, so I don't have that kind of hit space, but you can do that to make it a lot easier. And that goes to finished. So now if we were to go back to design mode, let's just put this layer to the back, and we can preview this over here. We can now click between our two libraries.
Okay,
and scroll
great.
and look
Nice.
at all of our books.
Looking good. We've got about actually 25 minutes until we get to the artist spotlight. We've now finished one full screen for UI design. Fergie's applied her color styling and showed us how she implements content and imagery into her designs using Repeat Grid and some plugins. And now we're going to get into applying it to all the other screens.
So just putting in some quick content here. So it's being fleshed out a little bit more.
Sure.
For our replays, we can do the same thing. Oops, what did I do here? I'm just going to pull in those book covers because that's a repeat grid too. The joys of repeat grid, it does half of the work for you.
I know that screen's done very quickly.
And then, you can imagine if we had our recording information, we can also do similarly to what we've just done to create that list. We could do that here as well. What I also do want to do is create our navigation bar to be a component. So I'm quickly going to change these so that they are just kind of this kind of gray tone. So then when we have the page, the screen that we're on selected, that can be signified with the blue gradient. I think I accidentally turned on. Sorry. Whoops. All right, so I'm going to make that a component, and then I'll quickly create some new states. So this one can be the library. And this is where having everything kind of set up here for me is going to make it all a lot quicker.
And for anyone who has any questions for Fergie, please feel free to put them in the chat and we can ask those before we get into our artist spotlight.
So focusing on this, so we'll set that to our library page. We can set this one to home, and then for recordings, we can set that there. So super quickly, we've got quite a lot of screens together.
I know, suddenly it went from 1 to 3.
Yeah, it happens like that sometimes.
It's like, do it once right, and then you can reapply that same. I mean, a lot of the times what we do in UI is just the same things over and over. It's rectangles, images, text, you know, can just reapply
it. Let's see. Got our button. So let's go for this one here. So this is an unread book. Let me pull in an image. And the nice thing is I can also copy and paste everything from up here.
This one is you have read or have not read?
No, have not read.
Okay. I was going to be like, what's an insight from that one? Because that's, it'd be interesting to learn more about XR. It's not something that I've spent much time learning. So that's the great thing about a book club, huh?
Exactly. So this is where all of the stylings is going to come in super handy. What I could also do with this selected is use the plugin to bring in the blurbs as well, but because I've got it here, I'm just going to do a really quick copy paste. And because we used a stack here, you can see everything is starting to rearrange itself and stay, well, stacked and organized the way we had it before. And we've got some other want to read books. Let's put those in here as well.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, the UX Book Club is welcome to all. We can drop that link in the chat. And in 20 minutes, we are doing Artist Spotlight. We're going to give some love to a designer. And if you want to get some love and you want to be shown through the Artist Spotlight, you can go ahead and apply. There's a little Artist Spotlight tab where it says chat and info on the Behance screen. And you can just select that and maybe do a recommendation for yourself or a friend, a neighbor, someone in the community, and get them that limelight.
Think about that. All right, where is our CTA? So I made this a really quick component earlier. We want this to say, I want to read this. Go. And let's just change the styling. And I can cut this from my pasteboard, go into my stack, remove my wireframe version. And let's give things a little bit of space. Ooh. Maybe we want to put the button before the tag. And there we go. We have a book screen.
I love that color, that gradient. It's so friendly.
Nice and fun. Now, I need a way of displaying here that this is not read yet. So some sort of badge would be good here. So I'm going to use a trusty polygon tool and do something like we did yesterday, just up the corners, up the points, and then use these little handles here to give it a curved edge so it's a bit more badge-like. Give it some more points. There we go. Like one of those fancy shapes on a certificate. And we can add a want to read. Let's give this gradient fill. Make this white. Maybe a banner would be better. Let's do a quick banner. Rectangle.
And so what were you thinking about when you decided, when you're like, oh, maybe a banner would be better? What was kind of running through your head?
I'm just thinking this style badge just looks a bit don't know, there's something, actually, maybe it's just the positioning of it. Just wasn't quite looking right for me. So I'm just thinking of create another version and see what it might look like if it were all just sort of on this kind of style banner, like ribbon kind of thing.
It's kind of more like a feeling you get when you're looking at something like, oh, it just doesn't feel good for you.
Yeah, pretty much. And it will all be down to personal opinion and personal taste, right? I'm just thinking there's a way of, maybe this goes at the top, maybe actually it's that the title here, for me, it doesn't really work. Maybe I need to move that down there, which would make that fit okay now. I'm not sure. I might have to ask the chat if they prefer the badge or the ribbon.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Maybe actually, can you put away, can you like hide that one, the badge? Yeah. Let's get the two versions.
It's not what I wanted it to do. Go over here.
Right, we're going to do get some feedback from you guys. Which one do you prefer for, and this is for labeling this screen as a want to read book, so it differentiates from the already read book.
Yes.
Okay, so we got banner versus badge. Banner versus badge. Can you zoom in on one at a time? Try that. Okay, so you go on here, want to read over in the right corner. And then, something that throws me off, I think, is that I think I just want to see maybe want to read list, because I almost feel like, is that something I want to read, or it's, I think, maybe I said list. That would, I don't know why that feels good. Oh, we're getting a lot of
on the as though it's from the list. You mean?
Yeah, so I know it came from that list. Otherwise, I feel like this is something I've remarked that I want to read.
Oh, okay.
That would be my thought there. So then that helps me know it came from the list. We've got a couple. We've got 2 banners and 1 badge. So I guess we're gonna have to be the ones who want to read list. And so that's the banner. And then let's go to the other one, the badge. I don't know, that the badge just feels friendlier though. I don't know.
Just being all blobby and floating around.
It's cute. It is blubby and floating around, but I like that. I don't know. It's okay. I'm not going to allow myself to be part of the vote, because let's see what you guys have to say. Let's see what you guys.
I'm leaning towards badge. I'm
leaning towards badge too, but everyone's voting. Okay, we got so many more votes for banner. So many.
Oh, wow.
Okay. All right. The crowd has spoken.
All right.
The crowd has spoken.
We'll do it that way. Oops. All right. And then this would be really similar to our currently reading. So we could give that one of our other gradients. Maybe this is where we use the badge. I don't know. Goodness me. You know what? Let's give it some character. Let's do this one with the badge. Let me undo.
The badge is back.
Just gonna have it for a different purpose, a different use case. It's fine. All right, that one is going to go up here. This one is going to turn into this other screen. Like that. Because I want to keep the patterns that we've already done. So what we need to add in is where we're up to. So reading chapter 5. And if we were to throw in the matching book, let's grab the blurb really quickly. Sprint, here we go. And this is start. Take. No. When is this one? Published 2016. And then we can remove our button. We could put the tags lower down in the hierarchy. And this can be our link to the replays. And we should use an icon here instead. Let's go icon hunting.
And so that's where it's a button for going to the replays?
Yes. So they could jump into whichever one sort of directly. So keeping it a carousel rather than, or we could make it a button that takes them to the list.
Oh.
Maybe that's easier. Let's do that. Let's use our other button. So primary button here. Oops. Recording frames. Go to recording replays, something like that. And then paste this in. Keeps our screen nice and tidy.
Very cute.
I think that's looking pretty good. Yeah.
Very nice.
So this is our book in progress. Let's just copy the artboard name.
And then I think that one, the badge just needs to say currently reading or
yes,
or current book. I forgot what you had.
We call it currently reading. Chapter 5. Consistency is key. And we'll make this one. Maybe we could use the yellow or the green. But the yellow is quite fun. Let's go with that one. So we can kind of color code things a little bit as well. A bit more character, showing a bit more of the fun personality for book club. We're not going to design profile. That's so regular. Let's we can do a really quick copy of this to show that we've finished this one. Finished reading. This could be green. We haven't used green yet. So green, like it's complete. We could even position it slightly differently. So this can be our book that we have finished. Let's go with this one. Oops, wrong spreadsheet. I'm wondering where it was. Get rid of our button, and this is where we're going to put in our star rating. And our members quote. So put those in.
Yeah, using those stacks is really helping with these screens because you're kind of using the same template, but just changing them out or replacing it, removing, adding. We're really seeing like the power of the stacks now.
Yes. Honestly, it's so helpful. I just love, well, there's far too many things about XD that I love, but the fact that I can just work faster and not harder is it's such a huge benefit that, you know, I haven't found with others. So we could also fill some of our stars in. So let's ungroup. Oops.
Oh.
I don't want it to be a repeat grid. I want it to be a group, just not a repeat grid. Let's go to our layers. And we have to do this manually. There we go. Let's group them in a regular group. And then center align. There we go. It's fine. Back to normal. Nothing happened.
I feel like some people are going to need to rewind and watch that on slow-mo. Like, what just happened? Okay, she fixed it so quickly.
Oh gosh, sorry if I'm going too fast, folks.
Oh no, I think it's fine. You know, some things you're like, let's see a little more. When you start playing around with stacks a lot more, you start to understand some of these behaviors. That you're like, oh, it's because I ungrouped and it's a group within a group. And
then what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to go to Object, Path, Outline, Stroke, because I want to put the gradient on the stroke. And then we can do a copy here and a paste appearance. Oh, no, wait, other way around. Oh, no, wait, hang on. Did I paste a star? Is that what I did? I think I did. There we go.
Oh, yeah, that was
on the... This is gone.
So you turned it into a path, the outline? Is that right?
Yeah, so this was a shape that we made with the polygon tool. And we went with a quirky spiky star instead of the norm. And then you can select it and just go Object, Path, and
convert to path?
No, we didn't outline
stroke.
Yeah, so we selected outline stroke so that because we had the border, but we want the border to be a gradient, and borders can only be the solid fill if you're wanting to do a gradient. That's the trick around getting what you want, basically.
Very nice. A nice little trick. And we've just got a couple minutes, just so you know, before we do artist spotlights. If you want to, probably have time to complete the screen, but after that, we're going to get into it and talk about who it is.
Pretty much done. Excited. So I'll quickly prototype and wire these together. So from our component, actually, we can start to do some of this. So from default, which is home, we could click library, and that is going to go to library. We could click recordings. That is going to go to recordings, and then vice versa. So just on all the different states, just adding in those links back to where we are going to want to navigate around. And the joy of this being a component means it just makes everything a lot easier. Okay, and then if we click any of our books, the replays, we'd go and see the recordings. If we were to select a recording, we would go to the player screen. For our back button, this is going to be a previous artboard. This is one of my favorite things because we could copy that and then paste it on all of our artboards at once. Let me show you how we can do that. rather than wiring them individually. So in prototype mode, select another back arrow, copy it. I'm going to select the artboard so I want to put it on, paste, and it pastes it with the prototype link intact.
Yes, this definitely saves time. The back button now for every one of those will just go back to whatever previous screen they came from. All right, we now are getting into our artist spotlight. If Fergie, you don't mind pulling up who our artist today that we are celebrating, it is Paul Larkin, who is in the chat today, and they have been very chatty in the chat the last few days. I'm so glad. I'm so happy that we get to celebrate you because you're so like, you give so much already to the community. So we should have the community give to you. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at that first project there.
Fast one. Alrighty.
Got a UX UI case study. Oh, we got a little interactive prototype. I wonder why it opened from the bottom. Started from the bottom. Now we're here. Trigger free. We've got a challenge. Let's scroll down a little bit. This seems like this was a challenge. Oh, this is for a hackathon. Very cool. I always recommend for people to do hackathons if they want some more experience. They're like, I'm ready to like level up a little bit and get a little bit more of a challenge. I think that's always great. So great that you did that. And you have the background information here. And then you've got the focus. Yeah, what I like about this case study is that it's really showing the whole process of the background, the context that this was created in, the solution. And so we already get an idea of what the solution is, but then you're continuing on to give us more information about how you got to this solution down below here. So let's take a look at there.
So they're really well put together.
Yeah, it's very clean, huh? Like easy to read.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a nice whiteboard photo. I use whiteboards and you're showing that, right? I don't even know this font. Do you know this typeface? Man rope?
Man rope? No.
It's kind of unforgettable now though. Man rope.
Quite a name.
And then
I love how he's showing the whole process.
Yes, because if we just saw one screen like this, we wouldn't know enough information, especially if there was a lot of UX and research collaboration that went on. We wouldn't know that if you just show a screen. So if you have the full background, but it was not too much information, right? Where it's like, oh no, it's overwhelming, just enough information, it makes it so that we can understand your process better. All right, we are in the prototype. Very cool. Nice, clean design. What do you think, Fergie?
I like it. It's really nice. It's really well organized, I feel. You know, it's not overly busy or like over designed either. I quite like that they've kept the focus on the search function, which is clearly the main purpose of it. But also helping the user out with similar to what we've put in our app as well, you know, recently rated, so recent things that the user might be interested in.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice.
Let's take a look at some other projects.
Do it. Let's go back. Which one do you want to pick?
I want to go to the space weather because like that is just calling out to me on this screen because everything else is very light. This is a more dark UI. And this is definitely more focused on the visual design skills versus the UX process. We have just the imagery here. So really nice dark UI because it's not like black. It's a nice dark blue. You think about the sky, nice images that are chosen, nice iconography as well. What are your thoughts, Fergie?
It's very, you know, how we were saying about color palettes being harmonious. This is definitely doing that same thing. You know, the different, even though it's a dark UI, it's not used black, he's gone for the sort of dark navy. And then to go with that, he's complementing it with the blue for the overlay little widgets. So really, really nice, actually.
Yeah, it feels very relaxing to the eye.
Yeah.
I love it. And let's maybe do one more, maybe the other one that's popping out. That purple background, lavender in the back. Oh,
NFT marketplace app. Fancy.
Very fancy. Another dark UI, but I like the pop of color, the photography that you're using with it. I'm liking the purple as the call to action. What are your thoughts?
Again, another really clean design. Paula's clearly worked on the kind of the idea of reducing your design down until it's just the elements that you really need. And again, it's it's just not cluttered. It's really easy to see what it is you might be looking for. Maybe watch out the font sizes. That looks like it might be a little small, but it could also just be, the presentation render could be totally fine. But it looks, I love the color as well.
Yeah, I feel like, Paul, you have a knack for like clean design, minimalist. It makes it feel just really pleasant to look at all your screens. When you first look at, you never feel overwhelmed. It's nice, large imagery. You also have a knack for like the dark UI style. I think all of them, they're different. This one's more using something closer to a black, and it's really nice and clean, and you're using great call to action colors. So good job, you. Let's give some love. You can follow Paul and follow him as well on Behance and follow their work. Very exciting. All right. Good job. All right, let's get back into the flow, back into prototype mode. Again, if you want to get your spotlight on with us, feel free to just go into the artist spotlight tab. You can recommend yourself, recommend a friend, and you can be on the artist spotlight as well. And I could put the link for Paul Larkin in the chat for you to follow. All right, Fergie, where are we up to now? Where are we at?
Oh, so just connecting things all together. So just connecting in that book from the want to read list. And now I just need to switch to connect in the book that we've read. So design everyday things. So I'm just clicking into this. And I'm going to link that just like that. Notice there's a bit too much space here. So we're going to nudge everything up. Smidge, just like that. There we go. Don't need that because it's the wireframe. So yeah, other than the audio screens, we've pretty much got it all done. And an audio screen, again, it's not, I wouldn't want to reinvent the wheel. I would keep it very much, as folks are used to seeing. So, for example, if we were to take our book here, so we could probably take a lot of this content here. So let's just, for the sake of it being complete, we can remove these things. Let's just group that off over there. And we can just take off the parts that we don't need, like all of that. We can put this back in. And we could apply some styling to these controls. So if these are my buttons that I'm going to use, I'm going to change them to be that gradient. And again, because this is an outline, it's got the border. So this is where we can do that trick again. Object path, outline, stroke. And it kind of makes it into a shape. And then we should be able to apply our styling along with my layers. What happened? I see.
So if anyone is just joining us, Fergie. This is Fergie's day 2 with us creating a UX book club app. This is a real app that she is going to build. And if you want to be part of this community, you can. Everyone is welcome to the UX book club, beginners, more advanced designers, come one, come all. And you can be potentially one of the first people using this app soon after she shows us how she's going to go from designs in XD into actually building it. And so that's a little secret. She's been keeping us on the edge for the last few days on how she's going to implement it, which we're going to get to that because it's coming down to the wire. We've got about 12, 13 minutes left. So the moment is almost here.
So, moment of truth. We've got our prototype done and ready. Let's set our home screen and let's preview it. Let's make sure everything works. So we've got our current book that we're reading. Our users can have a look. They can go to the recordings in case they've missed anything. We can go view our library. Oh no. That link didn't quite work. Let's pull it over here. There we go. Library, recordings. Okay, something. Clearly I did something a bit funny with that one. Recordings. But it's so easy to fix. There we go. Alrighty. We've got our library of what we've finished reading. We can look at what we want to read. Open one of these books. Have a look about it. We could vote and say we want to read this. We've got it. Our recordings. We could select which book we want to listen to. We could select a recording. We could play this. We've got a lovely Lottie file here, giving that impression, just so that, for proof of concept purposes, we can let the users know what this is really going to feel like. Our chat would, of course, just open Discord. But now let's get into it. Let me reveal all of my secrets. Get your pens and paper, notepads ready. So the way that I'm going to turn this into an app without coding anything is with a plugin called Bravo Studio. Now, it's going to prompt you to sign in, which you do just through the browser. This will also give me an opportunity to show you exactly what Bravo is. Let's see, hopefully it won't ask for this. Let me pull it off screen quickly. Do I type in any passwords? Yes. Okay, I'll ask you to confirm the code. And that's just the same one you see in your XD panel. And you see it's basically logged me in. But if I go to bravostudio.app, this is what it's all about. I'll make this full screen so you can all see. You can build no-code apps super fast. So how we've created our XD prototype in 2 days, I could maybe spend one more day and get a proof of concept built by tomorrow evening. It really is that quick.
Oh, wow.
And how it works, really, really quickly. So they've got all kinds of demo videos, but how it works is that we have, let's see if it's in my bookmarks. Yep. You have these tags. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, I love naming my layers, and it comes with a purpose because you look at these tags. So for example, we want to create the audio, right, to play. So for our play button, obviously we'll connect it to the audio in the background with a very, very easy API setup, which is also very automated. For a play button, all I have to do is copy this little tag here that's inside these square brackets. So I can copy this here and come back to XD, go down to my play button. Let's go to design mode so it doesn't do that. And for this icon here, I'm just going to paste in this tag inside of the square brackets. So basically, you go through and add all the different tags you need for your buttons, for images, for carousels. So basically, it's a little extra tag you're adding into the layer name, and then you go to your plugin, and we haven't used this file with Bravo, and Bravo knows this, so it's asking me do I want to create a new project? So I will, and it very quickly just converts everything. It's like a little magic thing. It does all the hard work for me. So it's basically going to sync all of my artboards to the Bravo Studio. So going back to our browser, I can, I'm not logging again, really? Oh no, okay, it's got me. You can see I've played around with this a lot, made many proof of concept type apps.
Wow.
And this is our one we've just made. You know, we can even create an app icon in XD for it, like I've done with these other ones here. And once we open it, we can see all of our screens, they've synced, even the ones we don't need. But to start connecting it to things, you use their API connection. So for example, how I've used Google Sheets, I could connect that in, or I could copy and paste that all into Airtable, which is a very similar database spreadsheet-esque online tool that's free. I would create a new collection, basically select Airtable Wizard, because the wizard does it all for us. I would put in the share URL that I get from that Airtable, and it would create those, what we saw on the Google Sheets as databases. It creates that for us. And then once we have a database, it looks something like this. It starts to look a bit more technical and complicated, but I promise you it's really not. You then go into your design and you can start to select what you want to connect. So for example, you know, our book here, we can tell it what to connect from the database, like all of these details here, so that the app is constantly live and updated based on the database. So if we finish another book and we add it into the database that this book is now finished, it will display it in the app. I won't have to publish any updates. I won't have to update the XD design file or anything like that. And it's brilliant. If no one's tried it, I highly recommend it. It is quite addictive once you realize how easy it is, once you get the hang of it. I mean, as you can see, I've created a number of things, mostly for fun, but it's, you know, I can now offer app design and app building services to clients. It's really great. I could create my own app of my portfolio if I'm job hunting. You know, that's going to make me stand out, right?
That's amazing. Do you have anything that you could share, like of those other ones that you've created before? Could you give us a snippet in what that looks like some of those other ones you've created?
Yeah, we can go through a delivery app. This is a clone of, you know, one of those well-known food delivery services that I was kind of creating as an example. I also have videos on my YouTube channel of tutorials. So if anybody wants step-by-step, you can find me over there, youtube.com/design with Fergie. And I have plenty of examples. So what you do is connect everything here, but they have an app that you can put on your phone, which is called Bravo Vision, which is like the preview mode. So for example, I could take my phone, it's going to be kind of harder to show that here, but I could take my phone and open it, play with it, make sure everything is connecting, working as I'm expecting. And then once I'm happy with everything, you can start to publish it. So you go here, you can integrate with so many things as well. If you're wanting to have people log in and have user accounts, if you want to do push notifications, you can send them very easily just from here. So if something's updated, we're reading a new book, I can send a little notification to users here, and they get the little ding, little pop-up on their phone. Super simple, right? No code required, nothing complicated. And they take you through step-by-step how to publish this for both the Android Play Store and obviously the Apple App Store as well. Takes you basically through everything and creates it for you, creates that neat little package that they have to send, you have to send to the App Store.
Oh, wow. How handy. Okay. And I would imagine people are wondering, how long would it take me to feel comfortable? Like, how long did it take you to start to feel comfortable with this? And how long might it take you to actually build and complete what you just designed?
So once you get the hang of it, I think it took me maybe just a few days, honestly, to get the hang of it.
Great.
The documentation is amazing. Once you've logged in, you can come down to the Learn Bravo tag here, and you can get started. There's samples, demos. There's a help center where the team are very active every day. You can get their sample apps. So if there's one here that might be similar to something you're trying to create, you can always start with a sample and turn it into what you need. And then basically, it's not going to show, I think, because of brightness. But once you've got it all ready, no, it's too bright. My camera's not going to pick it up. You can start to test it on your phone. So this is the delivery app, for example. I can click on the little pins to see what the restaurants are. I can change from a map view to a list view. It's not going to show up very easily. I don't have a way of connecting my phone to show everyone.
That's all right. But I think, it gives us a good idea of what that could look like and how long it might take for us to get started. Because I feel like it could be daunting, like, oh, I can make an app, I'm scared. But I think you made it feel like, okay, you just learn in a few days. This is how it works. Here are the beginning basics, and you have your tutorials as well that everyone should check out regarding this. I want to answer one question that I didn't get to answer earlier. It's from Manur. It's how to deal when you have an iteration, or when you did an iteration after user feedback, but when you show it to your stakeholders, they choose a different version that your users did not recommend. How do you handle that situation?
That's a really great question, and something I think most designers face. So when I'm presenting designs to stakeholders, I'll present them with the facts, with the research. I'll back up everything, explain to them why certain design decisions have been made. We have to remember they are not us. They don't know everything there is to know about this design. They don't know the right and the wrong way of doing things. They might just have an idea and be like, okay, go and do that. And then we have to sort of explain, well, actually, that's not ideal, or that's not optimal pattern or way of doing something. But if they're choosing something or making a decision that is not what users wanted, then I would tell them that. I'd be like, hey, we tested, X couple of designs, maybe gave them a choice with A/B testing, and the users really didn't like that. I would back that up with, why didn't the users not like it? So you've got to take your research a bit deeper. Don't just say, do you like it? Yes or no. Try and get into the why. Is it functionality that something becomes very different, very difficult, and very hard to use? Is it not serving the purpose that the users want? Or is this something that's, more around a business need? Is it the business is trying to push something, and maybe they just need to push it in a slightly different way that they would have more uptake with the users?
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you so much, Fergie. We have about 1 minute. If you can do a very 20-second brief explanation of what we covered over the last few days.
Sure. So Whistle Stop Tour, we have been creating a mobile app for the UX Book Club. We are a book club community in my Discord server, and folks, we're gonna have an app, and we've designed it now so that we have a library. We can show users what we're currently reading, what chapter we're up to. They could play back recordings from our club calls. They could vote on what they want to read next. They could create their own library of books that they want to read, things that they might maybe favorite or something like that. And I am then going to put this into Bravo Studio and launch it on the App Store. So watch this space.
Boom. Yes, everyone, please check out the UX Book Club. See how this progresses and actually gets built and created. And I think it's just really exciting that we were part of this journey with you. So thank you so much for bringing something really unique into the last few days of the live stream here. And again, thank you, Fergie, for just your time, energy, love, and creativity. For everyone else, Adobe Live will be back tomorrow with our evangelists for a full day of master classes, followed by a new episode of Office Hours with Nick Longo and Andrew Hortradell. If you want to take your skills to that next level, join Sin Lagos on our latest show, Pro Tips, at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you're going to do a deep dive and learn advanced techniques in the apps. And then following that live stream, Sin is going to be on Discord voice, so you can continue conversations and ask questions directly on Discord. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Fergie. And we'll hopefully see you all very, very soon. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.